You're listening to the Clutter Fairy Weekly, a weekly webcast and podcast brought to you by the Clutter Fairy in Houston, Texas. If you'd like to participate in one of our live webcasts, please visit cfhou.com/weekly. You'll find a calendar of upcoming webcasts, as well as instructions for joining the Zoom meeting via the app or by phone. We'd love to see you. That URL again is cfhou.com/weekly. Now here's the weekly episode. Enjoy.
Hi, Clutter Fairy fans. This is the Clutter Fairy Weekly for July 8th, 2025. I'm your co-host, Ed Gumnick, and I'm speaking with Gayle Goddard, certified professional organizer and owner of the Clutter Fairy in Houston, Texas.
Hi, everybody. The Clutter Fairy Weekly is the webcast and podcast that digs deep into the clutter that piles up between you and the life that you want to be living. We explore the habits and behaviors that lead to clutter, and we suggest strategies to slow the accumulation, reduce the collection, and comfortably manage the stuff we decide to keep.
If you're new to our Zoom meeting, we want to let you know that you can share your comments and questions via the chat feature, and I'll try to make sure Gayle addresses them before we move on to another topic. You can also use the raise hand feature if you'd like to ask a question or make a comment yourself via audio or video. And we are streaming the webcast live on Facebook, so you can share your questions and comments there, and I'll relay them to Gayle. We're going to start by talking about last week's weekly tittle, which was called Clean Up Your Cleaning Products. The assignment was to check the status of your supply of cleaning products and take action to reduce and organize them as needed. Let's hear from our participants in Zoom and on Facebook. Who cleaned the cleaners this week? Please let us know in the comments. YouTube viewer Sunshine Angel Cake offered a suggestion for what to do with any cleaning products you decide to downsize. Sunshine writes, "Love this episode. Cleaning products can be donated to homeless shelters, or if animal friendly, to kennels or animal sanctuaries, churches, or community centers. All places which have large areas to keep clean and would be grateful not to spend precious cash resources on cleaning products."
That is exactly what I was talking about. All those spaces with lots of people moving through and that need regular, almost continuous cleaning, they would absolutely benefit from saving their own funds on those supplies. Those are excellent location ideas. And the only thing I would add is to call first and make sure they're okay receiving such donations, and then you're all good. So some janitor or cleaning crew somewhere is going to use that stuff up in no time at all, and they're going to be super happy to not have spent their money on it. So I think those are great suggestions. Thank you for sharing them, Sunshine. Appreciate it.
Lots of comments on the kittens that we saw right before the show started.
I know. We had a little kitten visit.
Jane reports the carpet is scheduled to be cleaned tomorrow. So decluttering and putting things away is a work in progress.
Yay. Cleaning the carpet. Awesome. That makes you pick everything up, doesn't it? And get it out of the way of the cleaners. Good job.
Jacqueline says, "I didn't do much decluttering this week or do the tittle because we had guests over for the 4th of July for a barbecue. So instead, this week, I mowed the lawn, tidied up my yard and deck, and mopped and vacuumed inside so everything looked nice for our guests. I did gift a stuffed animal to the 4-year-old daughter of one of our guests."
There you go.
There you go.
That's let a little thing walk out the house.
One thing done.
Right. And I'm glad that you had fun on 4th of July. That was a great thing to do, to be social with your friends. I love it. And your cleaning efforts were prompted by their visit. And so now everything's in great shape because you had people coming over. Nothing like a little visit from stranger or from friends coming over to make you panic and clean the house. So good for you.
Dawn says, "Thankfully, this is not an area I had to do because everything is in place."
Awesome.
Excellent.
You win the prize today then.
The cleaners are all arranged.
Awesome. That's wonderful.
M reports, "I got out the paper bag to put the excess cleaners in. That was it. I spent every day since last Tuesday working on my clothes, closets, and wardrobe."
Hey, that's okay, because working on those clothes closets and wardrobe is going to affect you every day as well. The more room that you make and the more easily you can handle the clothes, putting things in and out, the better for you and how you get dressed every day. So it's a good place to concentrate your time.
She added, "I am really tired of trying on clothes."
I'm sure, right? Like, there's nothing like having to go through a clothes with 1,000 items in them and feeling like you have to try it all on. Like, that gets old super fast, doesn't it? Yeah, sorry. But it looks like you're doing a good job anyway. You're keeping with it even though it's annoying. So proud of you. Yay. We're clapping for you.
Naomi reports, rather than getting rid of any, I decided to make a push to use some of the cleaning products which had languished at the back of the utility closet for years. Side effect will be to get rid of some of my stuff, to get some of my stuff cleaner than it has been in years too. Bought a dollar
Ah,
bought a dollar store spray bottle to move the Windex into because the sprayer it came in wasn't working. I think Windex bottles are designed to
to
stop
fail.
functioning after a certain period of time. Then she goes on to say, then a friend tried to give me an extra spray bottle she had. Then the one it came with started working again.
You just created spray bottle clutter out of that. That's pretty funny. But I like the effort. Like, if you have it and it's partially used, just get it out and try to use it up. If you don't want to waste it and you don't want to throw it out, but you don't want to keep storing it anymore, the obvious solution is clean with it until it's gone. And, 3 months later, those cans will be empty and you can throw them out. It's a good
Ginger
thing to do.
Ginger Ginger reports, I'm staying with my sister, so I'm not home, but I did cleaners recently. I'm in use it or lose it mode,
There you
especially
go.
cleaners for problem areas.
Right? Use it or lose it. You gotta use it up. You gotta make it be, don't let it be hidden in the back closet like food that's gonna die, right? It has an expiration date too, just not in the same timeline as food.
Paul says, only have one of each type of cleaner, so didn't do the tittle. Instead, I took donations off to the thrift store and immediately started in on another bag to donate. All
Awesome.
Also went through sentimental and important papers and got rid of some. Ooh,
That's a good one.
that's a short statement with a lot of weight in it because we all know how tough the sentimental papers are.
And the time involved in going through paperwork too. Like
Yeah,
it didn't reflect the time that you spent trying to get through all that stuff. So good job.
every
And
item is a painful choice.
is a painful choice. Keep it, don't keep it. Yeah. And good job for focusing on it and getting it done. That's awesome.
Let's go on to our main topic.
Okay.
The decluttering and organizing process is a journey of self-discovery. As we peel back the layers of our lives, we learn valuable lessons about who we are in relation to our stuff. Today, we're going to talk about reality checks and aha moments our clients and audience members have experienced as they work to declutter and organize.
We asked our viewers and listeners 2 questions this time in the survey. Describe a reality check you've experienced as you've worked to declutter and organize your home. A moment when you realized that your ideas about stuff were at odds with the reality of your life. And then please share an aha moment you've experienced as you've worked to declutter and organize your home, an inspiration or flash of clarity that made the work easier or less emotionally challenging. And in a sense, these were 2 different ways of asking the same question. What experiences have caused a change in your thinking as you've worked through your decluttering and organizing process? I wanted you all to think about a time when your mind did a 180 and suddenly you were seeing it differently in a way that made your decluttering and organizing journey easier. And Ed, this makes me want to ask you this question. Do you want to talk about your own aha moments that came when you started this organizing journey? You have a few that you've told me before.
Yeah. I've had a lot over the years. The one that I've probably that I think is the most that was the most aha, if we're using aha as an adjective.
Right?
Um, uh, was when I first started to work with you and you came over I've told the story before, but it's been a while. So you came over to do the free assessment, the
Mm,
walkthrough. And as we're walking through the space, you noticed a piece of art, a handmade piece of art that a
a
college
crafty thing.
a crafty thing that a college friend had made for me. It was kind of a sentimental uh, it was a little bit of poetry that she'd cross-stitched. And you said, tell me about this. And I told the story of this young lady and our relationship. And you said, you asked me, can I give you some feedback? And I said, yes. And you said, this may have been who you were once upon a time, but it's not you anymore. And I think you've more than honored the gift and you could let it go now. And that like reached inside me and flipped a switch. And I said, yeah, you're totally right. I had been carrying, I think at that time I had been hauling that thing around for 20 some years,
Yeah, yeah. It had been a
and always,
significant amount of time. It was not,
always,
a little bit.
yeah, and always making a place for it in any new household I set up. I always found a place for that thing, even though it was nothing like anything else I had. It didn't go with anything. I didn't even particularly like the colors or anything like that. And then over the days that followed, I realized, oh yeah, this thing also isn't me. And that thing over there also isn't me. And that piece of furniture, that was never me. What am I doing with that? You know?
I love
And
it. That was never me.
right. Well, when you're
Yeah,
trying to set up a household in your 20s, and you have no
and you take
money,
everything for
you
free.
take whatever you could get at
Yeah, 100%.
garage sales, barn. I used to shop at barn sales when I lived in
Mm.
Tennessee the first time. And anyway, that was my big aha moment.
And it really changed because the project at the time was you wanted to move out of that house and you couldn't do it until you had gotten rid of it. You were going to move to a much smaller place and you couldn't get there until you got rid of a bunch of stuff and you were struggling with how to do that. And it really just lit a fire under your ability to process the things in the house and you were able to make lots of really rapid decisions and without remorse once
Yeah.
you shifted that point of view. It was very fruitful that you had that moment of clarity.
Yeah. And I think part of the nature of that aha moment was just that permission to let things go that you've acquired for sort of, well, I guess what I'll call conventional reasons, like
Mm-hmm.
because you have to have a fill in the blank.
Right.
We have so many of those expectations, and I had up to that point kind of lived my life with just accepting all those expectations as, yeah, that's just how it is. You have a TV, you have a couch, you have a kitchen table, and you don't have to have any of those things if you don't want to. That was
Right.
part of the revelation for me. So let's go on and talk about what we got from our audience.
Okay.
Um, I'm going to repeat the reality check prompt. Describe a reality check you've experienced as you work to declutter and organize your home, a moment when you realized that your ideas about stuff were at odds with the reality of your life. And we'll start with Anne, who said, I realized that people really weren't that concerned about how clean my house was. They just enjoyed being included.
You are really right about that, and I have to say, because being a part of a social gathering is enriching in a way that being petty about how clean your house is not. My friends and I say often, if you see a problem with my house, you can start cleaning it. And then we never see a problem with someone's house. And truthfully, I'm there to have fun with my friends. I'm not there to have issue with her home. And so it's totally it's a great filter for you to have about I'm having people over, my house has to be spotless. No, it doesn't. It has to be generally clean enough that people feel safe and comfortable sitting down. That's all that really matters. Can they go to the bathroom and not be disgusted? That would be good. And, do they feel like it's safe that you're preparing food in the kitchen that's relatively clean? Yes. And otherwise, I think you don't have to worry about the small details because they're going to spend their time talking to you, not inspecting the baseboards of your home. It's not really, it's not really on their agenda to peruse your house that tightly. And if it is, then they probably don't need to be, they probably don't need to be in coming for your social events. If what they come to your social events to do is to look at your house and judge, then they're not really being social and you don't really want to have fun with them anyway. So you don't have to invite them anymore. That's just my theory.
Yeah, I read even more into it about judgment, and other
Mm,
people's judgment doesn't have to have any bearing whatsoever on the choices you make about
mm-hmm.
what you keep, what you discard, how you manage your household.
How you maintain it.
Yeah.
100%.
Kathy said, I kept all sorts of items from my parents and other sentimental things for years. At age 70, I started doing more downsizing. After eliminating only 5 or 10% total, I suddenly realized that most, if not all of those things angered me. I felt the urge to pitch it all.
It's always good to notice how it makes you feel. If the stuff makes you angry, you sure don't need to keep it. Share your space with things that make you happy. And your story reminded me of, I gave a talk one time and I was talking about, organizing in general. And this woman raised her hand and said she had this bookcase in her hallway that she was saving for her son, who, for when he bought a house. But every time she walked down the hallway to pass the bookshelf, it made her mad, like unreasonably mad. And I don't know why, particularly the bookcase was making her angry, but she would go down the hall and have a flare of anger every time she walked by the bookcase. And my response was, wow, you do not need to live with something that makes you angry every time you walk by it. Like that is not the definition of living in a peaceful and a serene home is having your furniture make you flare up in anger. And we had a conversation about the son and what was the likelihood that he would be buying a house anytime soon. And the son was in his 40s and he was living in a room of his friend's house. And like clearly the man was not on a path to get a house anytime soon. And I was like, you know what? If he buys a house someday, you can go buy him a bookcase. And in the meantime, get that thing out of your house because you do not need to wait for him to get his life together for the next 10 years before he can buy a house and be mad at that bookcase every day for the next 10 years. Get it out and don't live with it anymore. As Kathy's writing that, she suddenly realized those things make her angry, whatever those reasons are, whatever that's about. I inherited this stuff and they left me with it to deal with it, or I'm mad at my parents and it reminds me of my parents, or I have a friend that was suddenly had a revelation about her mother and she was really angry at her mother, and suddenly all the things that she had hanging up in her house that reminded her of her mother just made her furious. And so she immediately started taking things down and putting them away because she was like, I do not want to look at these things right now. They make me angry. And you know what? If something in your house is making you angry, you need to get it out because it's your house and you need to be happy while you're there, not angry. So that was that her comment about it all making me angry reminded me of that moment with the other person talking and thinking anger is the last thing that you want to be having as a response to something in your house. You do not need to be living with something that makes you angry.
Gail, Lisa asked, did the woman get rid of the bookcase?
I don't know. I am she thought about it. I mean, yeah, we did in our conversation. She was like, "Oh, I get that," and I think she agreed that it was okay to, buy it later. And that's the one thing when I do speaking engagements, so they're not clients, I don't get
Oh,
to follow up,
that was
right? Yeah,
a,
because
yeah, right.
she was
You
at a
said
speaking
that.
engagement, so
Okay.
I didn't get to know. I'm gonna cross my fingers that she did, or at least if she got mad at it every time, she also thought of me telling her that she could get rid of it, and maybe someday it worked.
Right. Letter L says, I realized that I inherited or was gifted more items than I actually bought for myself.
This is especially true when you're close to the last one standing, when all the other family members have passed away or they've downsized to a smaller home as they've aged. And if you like the things that you inherit, then that's great. And having more things that are inherited or gifted than you bought is great if you like them. But if you don't particularly like the things that you inherited, then you probably don't like your house very much. So it's time to start releasing what doesn't serve you. I think if you're the last one standing, it doesn't matter if they are released now. There's no one else to receive them. There's no other family that is going to be invested in them. And it's okay if you let those things walk and fill your house with stuff that you like. And, spend some money on yourself. You're entitled to buy some stuff that you like for yourself and live with it.
I also thought L's comment was interesting because you know, that sort of discovery, oh, look at that. It turns out I haven't been really, making my own choices and maybe I could do
Choosing for
that. Maybe I
myself.
could start doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I did get that it was like she, I'm assuming it's a she inherited stuff and was gifted stuff and gave that more weight than her own opinion of what she would find as important or valuable. Or maybe just decided if I inherit the stuff that I don't have to spend money, maybe it was about the finances at the time. But I think you can always circle back and go, okay, that's why I made the decision in the moment, but maybe I really want to concentrate now on what I find appealing and pleasant and not necessarily maintaining what I've inherited or was gifted. And
Yeah, it
spend
might
some
have
money. I deserve having money spent on furniture.
accepting those things. L is she. Yeah, L says she, her. Um, it may just be that it was the path of least resistance,
That too, right?
to take the things that are offered and try to figure out, for those of us who have the pleasing people gene,
Mm.
it can feel so much easier to say, oh, that no, that table isn't really something that I especially like. And so you rationalize keeping it because it works in some way, but it's not really what
Because
you
it's still a
want.
table,
Yeah, it's still a table, and then you don't have to buy a table, and there's
right?
certainly a good thing in not having to spend your own money, um, but if you don't love it,
Yeah, I mean, again, we want you to feel like your house is someplace that feels like you and feels comforting to you and peaceful to you. And so maybe sell some of the things you inherited and use the money to buy something that you like better. Just a
okay,
thought.
okay, an anonymous respondent said that their reality check was, I am an information hoarder. I
Mm.
gather info on decluttering and organizing and cleaning, but never do anything with it.
That's not the first time I've heard that. I often find books about decluttering in clients' homes, which they promptly hand to me to donate. They usually giggle and then they hand me the book and say, put it in the donation pile. But I think it stems from trying to learn the exact right way to do it and trying to find the key that makes decluttering fun or turns on your will to execute. The truth is, your will to do something is not in any of the books you've got. Your will to do something is in your heart alone. And none of the techniques are the exact right thing to do. They're just suggestions of what you might do to help you get organized. Some you'll like and others you'll hate, but you won't find an exact perfect process that will make you jump up and start running around getting things done. The books might help change your mind or your point of view on clutter and how you see it, how you think about it, so that it'll reduce the burden of decision making and feeling guilty about letting something go. That's what you can realistically expect from a book. But if you're waiting for the book to trigger your movement into action, it's going to be a while, as you've discovered, it sounds like. Uh, there is an internal trigger that you get to do yourself about putting yourself in motion. And maybe the books shifted your perspective and it makes it easier for you to trigger that movement, but you're the only one that can start you moving and start you executing. And so maybe releasing the decluttering and organizing books is the first step towards figuring out doing what you feel triggers you, what you feel like will get you in motion. I don't care if you release the organizing books. Let it go. And also I think having recognized that you're an information hoarder and that you don't get the result that you hope for from hoarding the information, that you can then give yourself permission to stop doing that. You don't have to add any more organizing books. You don't have to find the next book to read because clearly that isn't what's happening, what's working for you. And so, determining that attempt to change your mind or get you in motion is an unsuccessful one, and to move on from buying organizing books and try something else.
Okay.
And you've started listening to organizers talk about organizing too, and so maybe have listening to conversation about organizing will be more inspiring to you or help get you in motion easier.
Millie says, I had too many plates, bowls, and flatware in my kitchen. A
This
lot
one
of
I
it,
love.
a lot of it never got used. I know this because when the dishwasher was full, my cabinets and drawers were still full too. So I removed the extra stuff, limiting the amount of plates, bowls, drinking glasses, etc. I have in my kitchen. I did it without telling the rest of the family, and nobody has even noticed. It's such a relief to have less stuff to deal with. I donated the extras.
Good for you. I love that the family hasn't even noticed. That part made me laugh out loud when I read it. What a great realization that a full dishwasher still left you with full cabinets and drawers. That's surely a sign that you're overstuffed, right? And how hilarious that once you realize, oh my God, I've even filled the dishwasher as a storage unit and everything is still completely cramped full. If I cleaned it all at once and put it all away, the cabinets and drawers would be exploding. And so it's great to realize that and then to, make the adjustments. And the things about kitchen stuff is it all seems like you end up with a second set of flatware and it's like, well, it's still a knife that cuts. Yeah. And it's doubling the contents of your drawers with cutlery in them and making them really hard to use. So
Yeah,
why not get rid of the extras instead?
and and probably driving you in the direction of ending up with a sink full or a counter cluttered with dirty stuff
Hmm.
because you don't
You never run out.
you can't, well, and you can't put it in the dishwasher until you clear out the stuff that's in there, which doesn't really quite fit where it needs to go. So you're doing more of a juggling act, really.
Right. And that must have been a real struggle to try to, keep all that stuff in motion and out of your way. That must have really been a hassle. So I'm sure that if you dialed it down to limited amounts of all those contents, that kitchen is functioning so much easier for you. And you donated the extra so somebody else can use that flatware and somebody else can use that cookware. Great end result. And a great thing to figure out, a great thing to recognize. Like there's so much stuff in this kitchen, I can't even put it all away. And that's, that was your moment and made it happen. And now your kitchen is functioning 1,000 times better. So yay, good job.
Ginger gave us a really long report of reality checks. She says, we've experienced several reality checks as we've aged, as my husband's physical abilities became limited and as our diets changed. One, hubby used to cook and eat a lot. Now our diets are more simplified, so we don't need as many kitchen items. We don't need a lot of food. Two, we've decided how much is enough on many categories. We don't need as much storage furniture. Time to get rid of furniture that we don't need. Tables with drawers, big dresser. Three, we can't clean house the way we used to. It takes more time. We need less furniture to dust. We need less carpet. And there was more. I encourage people to go check out the results, the survey
Her longer
results, to
list.
read everybody's more. I've had to trim a lot of these answers because people were really generous with what they had to share with us. You can see all the survey results at cfhou.com/results262.
262. So you're definitely describing the adjustments that you need as you've aged. And there you need less in the kitchen, you need less in the furniture area, you need less storage and less to dust. Those are all great reassessments of your abilities and what you're willing to do to maintain the house and shifting from we used to cook and eat a lot and now we don't cook and eat a lot. We don't eat as much. We don't, and so it makes it easier to go, this is our new reality. This is our new us. And, the old us, the kitchen is stocked for the old us. So let's unwind that and stock it for the new us. And it sounds like you've done a great job of doing that sort of all over the place. And realizing that you adding furniture that with storage to keep more doesn't make your life easier now because it's too hard to clean it. And so getting rid of extra stuff and getting rid of the extra furniture um, allows you to dust less and it makes it easier for you to clean. And so good job. Good job adjusting that one. That was a good reality check, a good awareness to get.
I like this one from Linda. Linda says, I was in my late 60s when I realized that a great place to store yarn for future projects was at the yarn store. A great place to store most groceries is at the grocery store, and so forth. Did I not know the meaning of the word store for the first 65 years of my life?
That is Clutter Fairy gospel right there. Store the supplies you need at a store. When you realize you don't have to be stocked at home to handle your life, but you can go get what you need when you need it, that's a really great revelation. And I love, we don't think too much about the word store, and the store is where stuff is stored that we want. The supplies are stored at the store. And what a great idea. It's we just accept what the word is and don't think about what the what
The
play on
the
words are happening
the
in the middle
deeper
of it.
meaning. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that was a really great one.
You know,
And the other one I thought of course, is we store books in the library store. It's not they don't call the
right.
library a store, but it's still a store of books. So,
Right.
or we store the books at the bookstore, right?
Now that may not work. That advice doesn't work for everybody because, there are people who are so far from the resources that they need that they have to, plan farther in advance. Like if you're someone who can only get to the grocery store every 3 weeks, you
Hmm.
have to buy a lot more groceries. But wherever it is possible, and for, I think for most people, if they took a good hard look at what they buy, they might realize, well, there are some things that I probably could hold off on until I'm sure I need them, or until right before I need them, instead of storing them all in my house.
Right, exactly. I mean, we've had this conversation about stuff that you clean, the shampoo that you wear or use it to wash your hair. Like, we buy 27 bottles of shampoo and then wonder why we're drowning in bottles, right? And when it takes 4 months to use up one. And so if you can think through how much stock you have prepared yourself against, how much time. Oh, I have 17 years of shampoo in my bathroom cabinet. You don't really need to have that level. If the apocalypse comes, you may not live 17 years anyway. So it's it's just an idea that stashing against forever is not necessary. You can stash a little bit ahead, and you can stash to what in reality is your usage patterns instead of stashing against, oh my gosh, if 5 bottles is good, then 10 is better. More is not better when it comes to supplies in the house and trying to maintain them. And so even if you have to go for and buy 3 weeks worth of groceries at once, then that's your pattern, right? That's what you aim for and plan for. And you don't have to have 6 months of food in the pantry. You can have, a month's worth of food in the pantry, and that'll cover you if you can go to the grocery store every 3 weeks, right? And so, oh my gosh, it's pouring outside now.
Okay, Kit quoted Dana K. White for her reality check. My house is not a project, which is to say, I'm never going to get my house perfectly decluttered, organized, and cleaned like a museum and then keep it that way after that. My house is actually a dynamic maintenance task, so I can let go of perfection and aim for better a bit at a time.
That's a really excellent point of view. The perfect house is not a realistic target, but it's really you're aiming for a maintenance chore that you need to keep up. So it's a good insight to have. You're not trying to create the perfect house museum. You're trying to have a house that you live in that is actively lived in and that you maintain as a maintenance chore to keep it up so that you can continue to use it all the time and that the house stays in good shape. So, good point of view.
Jean said goodbye to my last ever pair of heels. I cannot even wear low heels or wedges anymore. And she shared an emoticon with a tear running down her cheek.
There's not any point in keeping shoes that you're never going to work, right? It's a big aha moment to decide you can't wear the clothes you did 30 years ago, no matter how fondly you remember them. It's time to let them go. And, if it hurts to walk in the shoes, and then there's really no point in walking in the shoes because, ow, who wants to stand on heels and be miserable in your shoes? I, it's a good thing to realize, Gene, and to be nice to yourself. Wear the shoes that make you feel good and comfortable.
Amy said, I finally realized that I will never turn our double closet full of stacked boxes filled with photos into creative memory photo albums for each of my
Oh,
5 adult kids. 2 albums, beautifully made and captioned, were made in 1999 and 2000. I have all the supplies, especially stickers, acid-free albums, special scissors, punch-out units, etc., in order to make albums for each of 5 kids, my husband and myself, and both sets of grandparents. Yet I have only done 2, and that was 25 years ago. I keep dragging it all around from move to move. Now that I am a grandma myself, I think I need to realize that it will never happen.
wow, that is a good aha moment for sure. And I have to say, photo albums for 11 people is a pretty big ask. You know, your kids, you and your husband, all the grandparents, unless you love this as a hobby for your own entertainment, then those other 9 albums are water under the bridge because getting 2 done was a realistic target. Getting 11 albums was a kind of a fever dream target. So this is something that in 1999, 2000, you did it as entertainment and you made 2 great books. And the other 9 albums you have waiting for you, if you are not feeling the pull to do that creative hobby anymore, then you need to surrender that dream and let it go. And I'm telling you, 11 albums was a huge target.
It
I
might have only
think,
been one each for the 2 sets of grandparents, so maybe she was only aiming for 9, but that's still a
but
lot.
still, it's a lot, right? Like,
Well, and my other reaction to this was, is there is there a much smaller scale, simpler version of the project?
a
Now, if
compromise version.
if that doesn't if this was sorry, this was Amy, right? Yeah. Amy, if you
Mm.
hear that idea of a smaller, simpler compromise version, and your reaction is, forget I said it.
Then listen
Yeah,
to your reaction,
yeah,
right?
yeah, and make peace with giving away or selling any excess materials you have. The photos, you can keep the photos and pass them on to someone else who has interest. One of those kids might have interest in taking up the project, or one of those kids might want to take over the whole project and take your supplies as well.
Mm.
But you can also just set it free down the river.
Yeah, I always set it free down the river. I mean,
I know
truthfully,
you
creative
would.
memories came on the right. They came on the scene and they created this level of FOMO a little bit
Oh,
and
right, right.
and also mom guilt. They
Hmm.
tapped into mom guilt about I need to make photo albums about my little kids and how much I love them and I need to make it into something crafty and spectacular that's so much fun for everybody to look at and everybody got all the moms got sucked into it on some level and some people took it on because they found it to be super fun crafty play but in general, people just tried it. They weren't super creative. They didn't have great results and they were not happy with what they had done. And then they felt bad because they felt like they were failing as mothers because they didn't create this fabulously creative and wonderful creative memories album. And so I think that creative memories created another way for moms to judge themselves as falling short. And I am not down for that. It annoys me that they did that. And so if you are a crafty person and creative, then that is a vehicle for you to do that. But if you are not crafty in that way, then it is not something to judge yourself about. And if
Yeah.
you did 2 albums and they came out great and your creative moment has passed around these, then release the rest in supplies and be happy with what you did because you did 2 great albums and everybody can just get over it. And, nobody else is sitting around tapping their feet waiting for that album to come out. Your kids are not sitting there going, "Why didn't I get my album?" So it's okay, and you can let the supplies go.
Okay, Lise says her reality check was a realization that her children do not want any family heirlooms. She goes on to say, my aha moment came with the understanding that I have to be the baddie and end the generational guilt of stuff. My
Mm.
children will not have the guilt. However, I do not want to burden anyone with having to deal with unnecessary things once I am gone.
It's better that you deal with it yourself and skip passing that decision making to your kids. They're not going to handle it any better than you have so far. So if you declutter this excess stuff, you'll be lifting a huge burden off of their shoulders. And they may or may not realize how much you are helping them by releasing all this stuff now. But you will, you know that you are you're taking away a bunch of decision making pain and stuff management pain that they would have to deal with after you're gone. And so those two things are both great incentives for you to keep working on it, and you be the person that is the baddie, as you called yourself in air quotes, the baddie, and work it out and let it go and be the one that benefits from letting the buck stop with you and releasing stuff that you don't think anybody's going to want.
Here's one that I think a lot of people will probably resonate with. Evelyn says, I like to buy organizers before I know what I want to use them for. And
That's true.
and
I
suddenly your house is full of baskets and bins
and
and
organizing products,
caddies
towers
and
and cabinets and boxes that are pretty and right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get how organizing products are cool and clever and they must be fabulous for something. But that's exactly why I don't tell clients to run out and get containers before we've even started the job. We need to match a need that you have to an organizing solution that exists, not the other way around. And so organizing products become the clutter instead if you don't think about, I have this problem to solve. Now I need to go find an organizing product to solve it instead of, oh, all those organizing products, that's cool. And gee, what am I going to use them for? I don't know. It just looks good. Never a recipe for success. So uh, yes, as an organizer, I can probably make most of the organizing products that you buy and make use of them somewhere. But sometimes even I struggle to use all the product that you bought. So, and may not end up using it how it was designed in order to use it. And so, yeah, don't buy stuff up front. Buy it later on after you've figured out and decluttered and figured out, I have this pile of makeup now that I need to organize and what is going to work for it, what's going to hold what I've kept, what's going to fit on my counter, et cetera, et cetera. So,
and if you're one of our viewers or listeners who have accumulated a bunch of organizing supplies up front, be sure that you shop your own store
mm,
when you're ready to actually put something away.
yeah, go look at the pile that you bought and see what can be useful. Absolutely.
Okay, let's see. Lisabeth says, I buy a lot of project stuff for family activities and we use about half of it. I need to adjust and or give some away.
That's a really good point. Next time, buy way less than you usually do and see if you can have a moment where you run short of something. What's the worst thing that happens if you do run short of something? It's no big deal ultimately. And any excess you have right after the family activity is complete, whenever you've done the activity and used some of the stuff, whatever's left over should be donated right away because you're not going to go back to it like ever. It's not like you're going to redo that activity and go back to that stash. You're going to go shopping again and buy new stuff. So that collection of stuff, you do the family activity, you donate the rest immediately. And I challenge you to go to the store and buy way less than you are inclined to buy and see how it works. See if it's enough. Buy, if you use half of what you buy, that means you need to cut your shopping by half. And so cut it by half and see if it works out to be just enough. And then come and tell us about it. I'd love to hear how that went.
Let's talk about some aha moments.
Mm.
So I'm going to repeat the prompt. Please share an aha moment that you've experienced as you've worked to declutter and organize your home, an inspiration or flash of clarity that made the work easier or less emotionally challenging.
Mm.
Anya said, my work life is a season that is over now, and I can get rid of stuff that is related to that. My life changes.
That is every retired person's dilemma that you just described there, Anya. My work life is a season and it is now over. And somebody was talking about that when we were talking about the closet stuff. Like they have all these clothes that they used to wear to work and now they don't have to wear them and they feel uncomfortable letting them go just because you're used to them. It's just because it was part of that season of your life. But you can decide that you're in a new season now and you can let go of the things that are related to the old season. And you can keep, 20% of it if you want, but that 100% of things that support the season that has now passed can be released along with the season and let it go. It's a very good point to bring up, Anya. I appreciate you.
Margaret says, I realized that I don't have enough energy left to craft now, and keeping the collection was making me feel like I had more unfinished business to take care of.
Hmm. When the craft collection doesn't provide fun anymore, it's a season you've outgrown. Exactly like, what Anya was saying earlier. There's a season when you're a crafter, and then you get to the place where you're not feeling crafty anymore for whatever reason. And releasing it benefits those who receive it, and it takes the burden off of your shoulders. So it's okay to decide that you're done playing in that way now, and you can move on to playing in a different way with something else. And so if you don't have the energy to craft now, you crafted one, you had the energy and you were entertained by it, and you got your use out of your craft stuff, but now you can let that collection go. It's a good
And
aha moment
and not have it nagging at you.
and not
Because
having
yeah, she
nagging.
says making me feel like I had more unfinished business to take care of.
Yeah,
We
that
don't
is
want to
nagging.
sit around with things in our homes that look like homework. you know
Mhm. Exactly.
Elle says, realizing that I would only read a book once, unless it was a book I would refer back to, like a how-to book, allowed me to donate most of my books. I got a library card and now check out the books that I want to read.
Right? The books are at the library store and you can
Right?
go get them anytime you want. Isn't that a great insight to get? Once you read the book, the entertainment of it's been received, and you can release it to be available to entertain somebody else. That's an important mental shift to make, particularly for people that like to read and are, they get their entertainment from reading books and they like to do that. You can have an endless collection, or you can go and get it out of the library and read it and take it back. And I think that's the best thing to do. Good aha.
Another aha moment I had was around, I don't know, maybe age 26. I was reading S Stephen King. I think the book was It,
Oh yeah.
which is about 1,700 pages long and had,
Oh my
by
God.
my
Really?
count, 50 major characters or something like that.
Wow.
And I realized I have no desire to finish this book. And up to that point in my life, I had always sort of felt like if you start reading a book, you have to finish reading the book.
Mm,
And I just said, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not
I'm
doing this
done.
anymore. And that kind of goes for keeping the books you didn't finish reading too. It's like if you didn't finish reading it, just it's okay to accept that you just weren't enjoying that book. That book wasn't doing anything for you.
Right?
You don't have to keep it till all the right stars align to make that book appealing to you again.
Right? Because in the meantime, there's other books that have caught your attention. And if that author just didn't float your boat, that's okay. Because there's a million other authors out there, and one of them's going to float your boat. So
And some of them, are still answerable to editors, so their books are only 400 or 500 pages long. Um,
1,700. Yes. Oh
yeah.
my God, that's crazy.
C had an aha sad moment, realizing that many of the children books I bought or saved for future grandchildren won't be fulfilling this hope. I'm now slowly giving those away to other relatives and friends that have small children and grandchildren. Same for many of the toys I saved.
It's hard to release that dream of having grandkids, but if it's not going to happen, then there's no point in having books there for kids that aren't going to be. And you don't have to live with something that pokes a sore spot for you either. Like having those kids' books and toys sitting around, I think would exacerbate the sadness of letting go of that dream. And so, better to release them, and then you don't have to be tortured by the things that you collected anymore.
Okay, I'm going to jump around a little bit, Gail, because we're running out of time and I want to make sure we get to some of the meatier ones of these.
Okay. Okay.
Brenda B said, my daughter came home to help me declutter and pack for the big move. She gave me the permission I needed to let go of things I was sure she would want. It was such a weight lifted from my shoulders.
And that's exactly why I make clients ask their kids that they're saving these stuff for. I ask them, did you ask your son if he wants this item? If not, then let's take a picture and send a text right now. They're always surprised when the answer is no, I don't want that, mom. In reality, I think most of the time, keeping things for the kids is an excuse to save things that you're sentimental about without admitting it. And better to declare that you want keepsakes and figure out what those are and then release the rest. Let the kids inherit what you saved as a keepsake instead of saving everything because my kid will want this later. Air quotes, my kid will want this later. Ask them if they want it, believe their answer when they tell you, and act accordingly. And save the things that you feel sentimental about for yourself personally. And don't assume that you know what the kids are going to be sentimental about. If they've told you no, they don't want it, you got to believe them and move on. And then feel free to release. And like she said, Brenda said, my daughter gave me permission to release it because I thought she would want it. And she said no. And then she felt a weight lifted off of her shoulders because of that. It was like it was okay to let it go because her daughter didn't want it. And I think that's what you're aiming for at that point. If you feel really sure that the kids are going to want something, you need to go and confirm that and find out whether it's real or not. There you go.
Okay, M said, when I decided to declutter with the goal of safety, it became very clear why hallways are not for storage. I can now run down the hallway without fear of tripping or getting hurt, even in the dark.
I'm so glad that you made that improvement for your own safety. And I'm sure you feel relieved that you can get down the hallway without trip hazards. It only takes one shoe or an ill-placed box to trip and fall and hurt yourself. Better to skip that ambulance run and that hospital stay and stay upright instead. So, great job on deciding that you wanted to aim to declutter with the goal of being safe in movement in your house. And I think that you directly benefited from that. So I'm proud of you for doing that. That was a good thing to do. And you don't have to worry. Like you said, I have fear. I don't have fear of tripping and or getting hurt even in the dark because I know that the hallway's clear. And that's exactly what you're going for.
Ginger mentioned that she
Mhm.
realized something about herself and actually wrote about this, I think she said back in February. And Ginger's now anticipating our tittles by what is that? 5 months? That's pretty good. Um, she said, what she realized about herself was, I save things for another time, and another time is in quotation marks, instead of making time for them now. Things like food, dishes, self-care products, linens. I've mentioned my grandmother before who had
Right.
fabulous, beautiful linens that she'd ironed and folded neatly and stuck in drawers in, 1937 or something. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and they were still there when it was time to clear out her house.
Having never used the linens at all, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that sad? She was saving them for who knows what, right? And saving things for another time instead of making them for now is what other time is going to happen? Like, what's the other time that you're waiting for? And everyone struggles to answer that question when I ask because in their head, it's some imaginary perfect moment where using this item makes sense, but it's always an imagined one moment. And so, do you really not want the thing to be used for 20 years until the one time when it makes sense for it to get used? And then it will have been used once and then you put it all back up again? Like, I think that that's asking a lot to maintain the house for all of those. I'm going to use it at another time and waiting for that other time to finally coalesce and arrive to, oh, here's the one event where pulling out the wedding china makes sense and you pull it out and you use it and you're washing it an hour later and putting it all back. It's like, do you really want to hold on to something and wait to use it for an hour 20 years from now?
Yeah.
That to me is, it's a false vision to have for the things. It doesn't make sense.
Well, and I think you
Mhm.
kind of nailed it with the word perfect. And I want to read
Mm,
a bit more of what Ginger said in her talking about aha moments. She
okay.
said, she said, I think it may be a perfectionist thing.
Mm,
I can't use this unless I dot 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 do certain other things or plan the time to do it. She said, this week I pulled things out. I've donated a lot, but I'm using things or deciding I don't want them any longer.
I think that is a great thing to do. I mean, it's good. It's good that you realized it and that you're now trying to act from that point of view and, use it or decide that you don't want to use it and you can let it go. We don't have to be perfect to use the stuff. It doesn't have to be a perfect moment to use it. And you have it and it's functional and it doesn't need to be stored in your house waiting for the perfect time to use it up. And so I say get it out and use it. And if you don't like it for whatever reason or you don't feel like using it, then release it and save your time and energy for the stuff that you're using right now and that you want to use right now. It's a good
Sandra's
thing to figure out.
Sandra's aha moment tied right into this one. She said, the words use the good china finally sank in. That's when I began decluttering things I did not like. And when I actually started using the good stuff I was saving for later or for special occasions that never
Never
happened.
happened, right? Like that's the thing. It's like they don't, you're saving it for the mythical special occasion, and yet the special occasions are never special enough for the thing. And so it's like, what is the point of having it if you're just gonna, wall it off forever in a closet or a cabinet and never use it? I'm glad that you are using the good china and getting rid of the stuff that you don't want to use, right? That's awesome.
All right, we are just about out of time. So I'm
No,
going to
okay.
remind everybody we'll be back next week at the usual time. That's Tuesday, July 15th, noon US Central Time. It's time again for a room by room organizing session. We're going to talk about the home office, whether that's a dedicated room or a desk in the corner of the living room or a cubby hole in the kitchen or the end table next to the couch where you sit to pay the bills.
Right.
We're going to talk about that next week. So watch your email for an announcement.
Okay.
Gayle, why don't you give us the tittle?
This week's title, Crowdsource Learning and Growth. This week's assignment is to take advantage of the wisdom and learning that our fellow declutterers have to share. If you haven't already taken the survey we published prior to this week's show, please do so. And you can find the survey at cfhou.com/survey262. Visit the survey results page at cfhou.com/results262 to read some of the reality checks and aha moments that other members of the Clutter Fairy community have experienced. You can identify a survey response that resonates strongly with you, a fresh attitude, a new understanding, or an approach to a clutter or organizing problem that you yourself struggle with. Copy and paste that text in a place where you'll be able to refer back to it easily. Schedule a time this week to address an area of your home or a category of clutter that's relevant to the advice that you selected. And then read the saved text before you start working on your decluttering and organizing session. And again, when you're ready to stop for the day. And then reflect on any change in how you felt about the work that you've been doing. Did the advice that you collected help or hinder your efforts? What new reality checks or aha moments of your own did you experience? We're just hoping that you tap into the collective wisdom of your fellow travelers here. Everybody had great aha moments to share and changes of thought and focus. And I think that it's a great list to read through and see if you can't relate to some of the things that they're saying and take their advice, follow their advice for a minute and see how it works and see if it helps you see it differently. And then come back and tell us next week what you think.
I want to share one great comment. We had so much material prepared today. I had to mostly neglect the great comments that were coming live in the
Yeah.
chat.
Yeah.
But Jane says, my mom would save things for a special occasion. Life is a special occasion.
That's a great way to put it. Living your life is a special occasion, and why not support that with the stuff that you use? I think that's a great point of view.
These are the good old days.
Yeah, right. Don't be waiting for nothing. Use it now.
All right.
100%.
If you're watching this on YouTube, we'd love for you to join us live. To get notifications about upcoming events, we invite you to join the meetup group by visiting cfhou.com/meetup. You can also follow us on Facebook by visiting cfhou.com/Facebook or subscribe to our mailing list by visiting cfhou.com/subscribe. We love to hear from you, so please keep your questions, comments, and topic suggestions coming, on YouTube, Facebook, or anywhere that you find us. You can always reach us through our website at clutterfairyhouston.com.
Thanks everybody for joining us. And I want to give a shout out to Kelly and Mary Beth, who admitted to me over dinner Saturday night that they have been listening to us every morning when they start their day and
Excellent.
working on decluttering their space and planning on decluttering the parents' space. And so thank you for listening. We appreciate that you're here with us every week. Every day, it sounded like, actually, as they talked about it. That was
Working through
so
the
much
back
fun to
catalog.
hear. Right, working through the back catalog. So thank you. I appreciate all of you guys that listen to us and come back every week. We're so appreciative. If you want to, subscribe to the YouTube channel, that'd be great. If you want to support us, you can go to our Patreon page and do that as well. We appreciate all the ways that you support us, most particularly by participating in all of our surveys and giving us great insight into how your decluttering journey is going. So thank you for sharing again, and we will see you guys next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.